What up, guys? Otterpop here. Welcome to the very first episode of my new podcast, which I am calling the RaftCast. And today I am joined by cohorts Benny and Popcorn. Say hi, guys.
Hi, guys.
I knew you were gonna say that.
He's so
Popcorn?
painfully predictable.
Do I have to play you? Hi, guys. I'm Popcorn. I'm British.
Okay, and Benny is Benny.
Yes, I am.
Yes, Benny is Popcorn and Popcorn is Benny. Okay, we all good?
And we all go together. Good, good, you.
So yeah, I guess for RaftCast stuff, we're just gonna be kind of talking about, I don't know, whatever we feel like talking about, whatever kind of general topic comes to mind. And what was it, Popcorn? You were the one who were kind of suggesting something around the veins of gaming and content creation.
I think it's a nice little relevant topic for ourselves to discuss. Me and Benny have become like contributors to your channel, and anyone else listening out there who's got their own YouTube channels, I'm sure they might find, some of this relatable, and they might be able to offer their own comments towards us.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it, because I think even I pointed it out too, in one of our Discord chats, but the three of us have very different levels of experience and preferences when it comes to gaming and how it relates to content creation. Like we have varying levels of perspectives. We have very different perspectives on kind of how all that goes, because I'm a content creator and I have to actively think about, okay, how do I make this more entertaining, and how do I make sure that I myself am entertained? But for you guys, it's definitely a little bit different.
Oh yeah. I mean, I literally just became a content creator like a month ago, and I'm still in the sense of like, I'm not getting ad revenue. I'm basically just doing this because it's fun. I don't really care about growing an audience as much as I am at, making myself happy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been like on off with my own like YouTube channel, and I've mostly just uploaded stuff where I've hoped that it might be interesting and entertaining for people, but it's mostly been like for my own personal enjoyment.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
You're big enough to where you have to decide, how much of this do I do for me? How much do I do for the audience?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it also doesn't entirely help when, because I'm not strictly a gaming YouTuber. I do all kinds of other things. I mean, look at all the playlists, from South Park reactions to writing commentary and analyses, forensic videos, art time lapses, stuff like that. Like, there's definitely a balance to everything that I have to be aware of.
And you don't think you're big enough yet for multiple channels like Otterpop Gaming, Otterpop Art?
No. No. I am definitely not big enough. I mean, I edit all of my own content. Everything is edited by me. That's most of my time is dedicated to editing videos. Even taking all the drawing stuff that I do, the occasional writing that I do, and the recording itself does not compare to the amount of time that I spend editing. Because I don't have the money to be able to pay an editor. Do you really think I'd be able to get a second or third or fourth channel if I wanted to? No. I still have a full-time job, man.
Yeah, and that brings up like another aspect of all of this, because we've all like recorded content together, mostly like 7 Days to Die, but we've sat down, we've played that for what, 4 or 5 hours straight at a time, sometimes longer.
Oh yeah.
And for like every hour that we record together in that, you get like a 20-minute episode.
Yeah, I have been debating about trying to shorten some of those videos, which kind of means editing a little bit more. I've actually been doing something a little bit different with some of my gaming, like some of the long sessions, like 7 days. My sister and I have been playing Raft recently. Even the Hollow Knight live streams. But I mean, I've been trying to take those. I've been trying to cut down, like just strictly cut down things to points that I think would be good, and then I export that into a single video file, and then I edit it again. So then I cut it even more, and then I provide actual edits so that because I don't know, if when I'm editing the initial 3-4 hour session, I'm not necessarily looking at it the whole picture. And even when I cut it down, I'm still not looking at the full picture there. But once I edit it the second time, then I am looking at it from a more specific perspective. And then it's like, okay, no, what was I thinking? This does not need to be included. This clip is just kind of meh. It's pointless. So.
Yeah, and say for how many hours of your life do you have to put in to edit every single hour of content produced down to, 10, 15, 20 minutes for an episode? I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. And like you say, you've got a full-time job.
Yeah, it's definitely I wouldn't say it's necessarily difficult. It's just incredibly time consuming.
Yeah.
I mean, would it be nice if I had a slightly better computer that was a little bit more focused on, running video editing programs better? That would be nice, but what I can do now works relatively well.
Yeah, and speaking as someone who's been subbed to you for a long time, I can say I have seen how your creative process has evolved and changed, and how you have gradually become more and more adept and skilled with your editing techniques and become more advanced. And you've really made some very, very good progress on it all. It's really impressive what you've done.
And I learned all that on my own time completely. I didn't take any classes in like high school or college. I didn't look up any lessons online. I just edited on my own time over and over again. My initial editing skills were not good, but I was able to do basic stuff. But yeah, now it's very different. I mean, yeah.
And that's not to say that artists don't necessarily have to take classes. Like some artists don't take classes and they succeed very well. Some artists do and they succeed very well. Whatever works for you there's nothing wrong with taking classes, but it's very admirable that you're able to you just take the video, you warp it into exactly what you want, and then you just get better at it with every single iteration. You learn by doing.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
Yeah, we could say that you sculpt your videos rather than edit them.
Well,
I guess that's one way of thinking of it, yeah.
It's the Michelangelo quote that I don't know if everyone gets wrong, but because nobody ever actually knows what quotes people say. But he's the one that is attributed to the quote that the sculpture is already there in the marble. I just have to make it appear.
I know that one.
But I mean, it's literally there in the video. The final video is there in the raw footage. We obviously know that, but that's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you sculpted exactly how it is.
Yeah, that's probably a good way of putting it.
And sometimes, I mean, obviously, if you're doing like short videos, like from the days when you would like just react to Try Not to Laughs and things, that required no editing at all. You just throw that up as it is.
Oh yeah, most of the reactions that I do nowadays, and because I don't do too many nowadays, but most of the reactions I do nowadays are fairly easy and simple to do. Sometimes depending on how long the video is, the longer the video is, the more time consuming it is. But yeah, it's mostly like shifting sizes of things and then making sure to cut and edit just right. I actually did not used to cut very much during my reaction videos, but I definitely do that a lot more nowadays.
Yeah, and I think it's one thing reacting to like a Try Not to Laugh, but if you're reacting to a TV show, then obviously you've got things like fair use to consider as well.
Right, which is, I mean, another partial reason why I switched around stuff with reactions. It's like I'm mostly gonna stick to YouTube stuff, and I'm still gonna do South Park stuff, but I did limit it to Patreon for reasons.
No, I get it.
A number of reasons. But yeah, a lot of the other reactions I do, and some of the reactions I do to, say, YouTube animated content, I will put on YouTube, and sometimes they get copyright claimed, and sometimes they don't. It is what it is. But I always try and put as much effort as I can into providing a lot more commentary and analysis than just a simple reaction.
Yeah, and I've really enjoyed that, especially with some of your recent like true crime stuff that you've been following, reacting to. It's reaction and commentary, which I really, really enjoy.
I mean, so is gaming in a sense. Like you're reacting to the game as you play it, especially games you've never played before. I really like.
Yeah.
I started to watch your Hollow Knight series, and I really, really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad the exodus of people who are just watching for your South Park videos is actually a good thing. You're left with people who actually want to see your diverse content, and yeah, they're not going to watch everything. And maybe that's fine. I don't watch everything. Yeah,
Well, yeah, no, I don't expect people to watch, everything. I have so many different kinds of videos. I can't expect everybody to. If there is somebody who does watch pretty much every single type of video, I would be extremely impressed. But as far as I know, most people, there's like, one or two kinds of videos, and that's kind of about it. And you know what? That's completely fine. That's what I get for going with a diverse channel.
Well, you're asking for comments to be like, I watch everything. And, that's maybe not.
Let's have those comments. Let's hear it from the loyalist. I watch everything.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm a true fan. I know what happened in this video, and this video, and this one. It's like, those are 3 completely different videos. How do you know this?
Back in Oversimplified episode 1, she said,
You will get the Otterpop Neds.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I can think of a couple people who would be close to that, but I don't know if there's a true like nerd and like huge fan of like everything on my channel.
I'm sure even your sister hasn't seen everything.
Oh no, she hasn't.
She sees you enough.
Pretty much, we live together.
Ooh, topical.
Well, yeah, but that also
brings... we live together by choice. I mean, there is a financial advantage to it as well, but we live together by choice because we live.
A bed and shed is a bed and halved.
So going on back to the topic of gaming, something that I was actually kind of thinking about, because, the games that we play nowadays together, especially 7 Days, but, we've played some other games, but it also kind of makes me think about, where we started at in terms of, what we enjoyed and kind of what we did. So I got a question kind of for everybody is like, what games and game systems did you guys like start with? And I know that's probably, taking you all the way back, but I'm sure that you would probably have a good idea of what that was.
Are you going to take us back to the past, like AVGN style? No, my first game ever was Tetris. Ever. I had it on a Game Boy knockoff, like a Chinese, I mean, it's Tetris. You can't really mess it up, since that point, I knew that I wanted to play video games, but I didn't get my first video game system until I was 10. It was 1999. No, 2001. I was 2001. It was post 9/11. I got my very first Super Nintendo from my cousin, and I just played that thing. Like people were like, "Oh, 3D gaming is the future." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna play Yoshi's Island forever." So that was my first experience.
Oh, I couldn't go all the way back because I grew up in the stone age of personal computing. Our first video console was an Atari 2600. That's how far back we're talking here. And like the ZX Spectrum. I would take it from when I got my first PC, which was 1996. And even then, I just felt just how many light years ahead personal computing had come from just 15 years earlier.
Yeah, I didn't consider PC. I had a lot of PC games, actually. I was thinking console.
Well, I've been an exclusive PC gamer.
Well, and if you think about it, PC is also in its own way a game system too.
Oh, it is.
I mean, look at all the games that either have PC variations or PC exclusive. There's a lot.
But you see, that's my bias. Like everything that was like advertised to be in the 90s was all console games or handheld games. So I didn't even consider that PC gaming in the 90s. I did a lot of that. That's all I had.
Right.
So that was even before the Super Nintendo I inherited in 2001. So yeah, popcorn. You just opened up a whole, rabbit hole of information of memories from PC gaming.
Well, and see, and I'm from a newer generation. Like I was growing up with gaming in the 2000s. I mean, my sister and I the family had a computer, but it wasn't super fancy or anything like that. we didn't really have any games on it for the longest time. I wouldn't say until, funny enough, I was about 10 as well, 9 or 10ish, I think, when my sister and I got our first console system, which was the PlayStation 2. I think it was maybe a year or two later that we got Nintendo DS's. And then I think it was not long after that we ended up getting a Wii. But I mean, I grew up with PC games, PlayStation 2 games, and Nintendo DS games.
I mean, don't knock the PlayStation 2. It was like the number one console for a long time. Like, people love their PlayStation 2s, no matter what console they got.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, I have so many fond memories of so many games that never got remade in the PS3 era. So, you know, I was never able to play them again once the PS2 started breaking down, and we just flat out weren't able to play it anymore. But yeah, I have so many fond memories.
It broke down? I have a lot of people who like relish the fact that their PlayStation 2 still works. You know, same gosh. People who are happy that their Nintendo 64 still works or whatever.
Yeah, no, I think ours lasted maybe like 8-9 years, something like that.
Still, that's really good. I mean, that's durable.
Yeah, no, the PS2s are crazy durable.
I went from Super Nintendo to GameCube. My GameCube, in the video game club, we were all upgrading to Wii's, and so we were selling the school was selling all their GameCubes, and I got mine for $20. Oh wow! And it still works. It still works today. I have a thing that converts the regular cables to HDMI, and it works lovely. It works a treat. Still play Metroid Prime and all those games.
I have heard so many people talk about, like, you know, Xbox console and Xbox games, and I'm like, I've never used an Xbox product in my life.
Well, you've used Microsoft products at least with your PC, I'm sure.
Right, but I mean, technically Microsoft and Xbox were two very different companies for a long time, so.
Yeah. I mean, when we gave up with our Atari 2600, bear in mind, we've had this thing since probably about 1980. I guarantee you could probably dig it out of a skip and it would still work.
You still play Breakout on that?
Anything. I mean, the switches are all gone, but you shove a screwdriver in there and waggle it around a bit, and you'll get it to work. I can guarantee it.
I believe that. I absolutely believe that.
They're too primitive to break.
But also, they're so easy to emulate. There's no real reason to play it on that. Like, you can probably get a system, or even like just play it on your PC.
Well, that's what I was going to go on to next. Emulators.
Good topic.
Yeah, because I don't know whether you guys have ever like used like MAME 32 or MAME 64, which could like mimic arcade games.
Wow.
I've used
about all the classics like Outrun and Afterburner and the old Star Wars games.
Oh, my favorite Atari game, I think, was the one where there's like two cowboys and there's a cactus between them, and I think it's probably like Shootout or something. And you have to
I know that one.
First one to shoot the other cowboy. Great game. I played that one so much with my friend. But I didn't play it in the 90s and 80s. I played it in 2000s on an emulated like Jack's Pacific. You know what those consoles that you plug into the TV and they just like have games in them already?
Oh yeah, the retro ones.
Yeah, had an Atari one. I had an Namco one. Had a Star Wars one. Like they were like $20, and you could have all these games that are just already programmed on them.
Oh wow, yeah, I've never done anything like that. I've never used anything
I played
emulator
that Cowboys game with the cartridge.
I believe you.
Same. Yeah, no, I've never used anything emulator related in my life, so.
Well,
maybe that's something that you could try.
I mean, it is something I haven't thinking about.
Wii, right? If you have an old Wii, because I like it's like jailbreaking an iPhone. You basically put the homebrew channel on your Wii, and you can emulate things that way. So I emulate a lot of NES games that would never come to the store because they just, I guess, weren't popular enough or whatever. Because my favorite Nintendo game from the era of like the 80s is called North versus South. It's a French game based on a French it's a game based on a French comic of the Civil War for some reason. And it's one of the most fun strategy games I've ever played. But there's no way it'll ever come to like the actual console. So, you know, if you want to play those old games that just aren't going to be ported to the actual system.
Well,
that's how you do it.
Pulling it back to what we were talking about in terms of like content creation,
Right.
when you've seen like people playing something like Getting Over It, which is like one of the ultimate rage games.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Growing up as a kid when you were using like the Spectrum or the Commodore 64, where you played a game like an old arcade machine, you had 3 lives and then that was it. You were dead and you had to start the game all over again.
Mhm.
Yes.
You know, I would watch my brother get all the way to the end of a game like Green Beret and get killed right at the end. How
Oh,
that
no.
computer did not go sailing out the window, I have got no clue.
But that was the beauty, though, of The Legend of Zelda, 1986. One of the first games, or definitely the first popular game with save files.
I
Yeah.
had a Spectrum emulator on one of my old PCs, and I had a friend who was almost exclusively console. And I said to him, "Try this game. It looks primitive, but just try it." And it was like a bat and ball game, you know, very similar to Breakout, but
yeah.
you could get like little mods and stuff for it. And I could watch him getting progressively more and more frustrated as he was getting killed over and over again with it. And I was just behind him out of shot, just nodding sagely to myself, saying, "Yeah, there you go.
But that's
Know the
great.
pain."
That's great. I mean, like those that's the thing. Those games evolved from arcade games where you start with the stage 1 and go all the way to stage 255, and you would just keep going and going and going until you lost. Like that was the game. Like Galaga, Pac-Man, or anything like that.
Absolutely. I mean,
you
you
know-
look like a game at Red Dead Redemption. You get killed in that, it's no biggie. You just
Mhm.
go back and start again
Mhm.
from where you left off.
Yeah.
That's expected. That's expected these days.
Exactly.
Well,
Nobody wants
games
to
are so
build
much.
up a character. But for content creation, rage
Mhm.
games or games where you will like suffer these major setbacks or have to start again from scratch, arguably it
Right.
makes great content.
Yeah, but like
And
this is
people love watching it because they like watching content creators suffer.
Yeah, because the content creators didn't grow up in that generation of your generation of just progression and then start over. Like that was normal back then, completely normal. These
Yeah, I mean,
days,
I wouldn't do a game like that now.
no, no. Well, I still love those old arcade games, but yeah, but games like, ugh, like I can't even think of one. But games that you start from the very beginning, like Dragon Quest, and you just keep going, or you start from the very beginning. Not Dragon
Yeah,
Quest. What's it called? Dragon Slayer. It's like the one where you're like this Don Bluth character, and you keep going to the end. Nobody remembers that one. No. Okay.
no.
Nope. That's probably
It's
from before my time, honestly.
It's before my time, but I still loved it. There was an arcade in my barber shop that had Dragon Slayer.
I mean,
Um,
if
If you know, you know.
It could also just be a little bit my personality too, because I mean, no matter what it is, whether it's games, entertainment, music, stuff like that, generally speaking, if it's like older than me or older than the 90s in general, I generally have no interest in it, or I like try it, but then I lose interest really fast. Like I as my family has said for a long time, I have a new soul. I've
Okay.
kind of a brand new soul. So it's not that I don't appreciate the older stuff. It's just I don't like it and I don't enjoy it.
I hope they didn't mean that as an insult, because having a new soul is fine. It means you're open to new things, and you're not necessarily clinging on to something old and clinging on to it for so long that nothing new impresses you.
Right. I mean, we still have
Oldest game
nostalgia,
you've
but
played. What's the oldest game you've played on your channel? Because in one, the first one that pops into my head is Portal.
I mean
That is old.
that in terms of my channel, yeah. Well, actually,
Yeah.
hold on just a moment because I have played a couple of other games that might even be a little bit older than that. Because I played Kingdom Hearts 2 and Zoo Tycoon 2 on my channel before.
That's true. She did do a retro game week, right?
He did.
Yes,
That is
not
true.
not exactly. It was just I was like, hey, I got some games from my childhood that I used to play. I have the capability of playing them. What should I play? And I did play a couple of them. So yeah, and let's see. I want to say Zoo Tycoon 2 is that could be 01. And Kingdom Hearts 2 might be, frick. Was that 02?
So
Okay.
that's a fair time ago.
Hold up. I could be completely wrong because my memory is absolutely awful. So, I'm gonna look that up real quick. Cause yeah, I could be wrong. Okay, no, Zoo Tycoon 2 was 04. So I was only a couple years off. Okay,
That's definitely older than Portal.
True.
Yeah. I mean, that's 19 years ago.
Yeah. Okay, Kingdom Hearts 2 is 2005, so I was still off by a few years. I was off by 3 years for both of them. What? And instead of 01 and 02 was 04 and 05. I don't know how I did that, but okay, I did that.
I mean, it feels older to you, right? Because it's a childhood game, maybe.
I mean, that's entirely possible. I also could have, because I'm pretty sure I looked up a bunch of dates for some games that I used to play as well, and I probably just mixed up some of the dates. That's probably.
I get dates wrong all the time when it comes to like my childhood because it kind of all bundles up into one like era.
I only know stuff from my childhood based on stories and vague memories. My memory's just not good at all, and most of my childhood is kind of blurred together. They're like maybe 10 memories I can like full on memories that I can pull from my childhood, but the rest is just kind of a blurred mess. And when I say childhood, I mean like even up through some of my high school years.
Okay, that makes sense. But technology to me it's kind of advanced so much between 1991, the year I was born, to my high school where I graduated 2009, 2010. Sorry, video games just changed so very drastically for me. So I can separate that high school, junior high. I could separate them into like chunks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wish I could do that.
I mean, in terms of computing, my experience is split into two very distinct phases. The first phase is the age of like early personal computers, and then the second age is the advent of like affordable PC computers that you could like set up at home. And the gulf between them, I mean, it's a chasm between one style of gaming and the other. For me, since that period, which for me is like the mid 90s, the games have become more sophisticated, but I've not noticed that much difference in terms of like gameplay. The games look nicer and nicer and nicer, but in terms of the actual content, it kind of like it's plateaued out a little bit, just from my own personal experience.
Really?
Not that I'm a big gamer. I think you get to a point though where you know you've done all the new stuff. What is there new that you can do? A driving game is always going to be a driving game. And now you've got the simulators out, farming simulator, truck simulator, power wash simulator. There's only so much you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, it's just making it look prettier and more expansive and more open world. I love open world games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the games where you can just lose yourself and just do what you want without necessarily having to follow the story is really, really great. So, 7 Days to Die, Minecraft, Subnautica, the original Crisis was very much like that. So that's my style in game where you can just plan and do your own thing, and it can be as open-ended or as closed-ended as you like. Red Dead Redemption is another one. The original Grand Theft Autos. But it comes to a point where you just think, I've seen everything of this that I want to see. I want to do something else.
And that's kind of interesting because I actually think about it a little like I can completely understand where you're coming from, but I come from a very different perspective and preference, where as much as I have a lot of open world gaming content on my channel from Hollow Knight, Red Dead Redemption, 7 Days, Subnautica, stuff like that, open world games have never been my thing. I would always get too bored too easily, and that's more often than not why if I'm playing an open world game, it's with somebody else or with multiple people, because it's very difficult for me to kind of do that on my own. And I'm also very much a writer, and I care very much about writing, so linear games were always my go-to. Like
Mm.
games that had, stories and set worlds and specific characters and like just this expansion of storytelling. Those were always my kinds of games. I mentioned Kingdom Hearts 2 earlier. That was definitely one of them. Even if the story can be confusing sometimes, it was something that I grew up with, and I just loved the varying expansion of everything and like the sort of linearity to it. And it was just something that I always grew up with. It wasn't the only one, of course. There are plenty of other games that I used to play in my childhood. Some that you guys have probably never heard of that were just kind of random titles that mom and dad would pick up at the store, and we would play
Yeah,
them
I'm
and
a,
more often than not enjoy them. But the from my perspective and preference, linear games were always my go-to no matter what. Sometimes sandbox games as well, but linear was definitely my niche, and still is.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for linear games that have a specific beginning, middle, and end.
Mhm.
I was never trying to like diss on them.
No, 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 no,
Um,
no, 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 no. I know you were, because again, everybody has their own gaming preferences. I mean, like you just said, open world games were definitely some of your favorite, and still are.
I think the open world is only something that's really started to take over as PCs became more sophisticated and consoles became able to power them in a satisfactory way. Some of my
yeah.
favorite games from my earlier years, they are linear games. Like the TIE Fighter series, the X-Wing series. They have an end.
Right, but I mean,
And even a lot of open world games, they still have a story to complete, and then you can just do what you like in them if that's what you choose. Like
mhm,
Cyberpunk
Subnautica.
77.
Even
true.
Subnautica has a story, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it does.
But it's just as you said, though, Popcorn. You said like you wanted something different, and the open world game, now that it's finally able to provide you with what you want, uh, other than the linear games of your past, now it's satisfactory, and those have become some of your favorites. Whereas Otter's always felt as comfortable as she can in those like games with a story and a line and a path to follow. Uh, and so the addition of open world games doesn't mean as much. It's not as much of an opening to new gaming experience to her as it is to you.
Hmm.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Well, but that brings me on to the next point and what we want talking about is how these kind of things are received by the viewer and the people who are like taking on board the content that's being created.
I mean,
Go on.
that's kind of interesting in part because it can be kind of variant. I mean, if you think about it, if you see somebody playing a game online, especially a game that either you know or you're very familiar with or have played yourself, you're almost looking for if there's a similar kind of reaction. Like say Getting Over It. If you're going to watch somebody playing Getting Over It, you're going to expect some kind of like rage and frustration, probably continually as well. Like there's almost, depending on the game, there's almost this certain expectation. My boyfriend was actually watching. I don't remember who it was. It may have been somebody from like Achievement Hunter who was playing Breath of the Wild for the first time. And my boyfriend
Mhm.
loves Breath of the Wild, and he was watching this guy play the Zelda game, and he almost had like unintentionally created certain expectations of what he thought the gamer would be having, I guess you could say, in terms of what he was going to do, how he was going to learn things, how he was going to explore. So I think that it just kind of depends on the game. Like it makes more sense if you're more familiar with the game, but if you're going to watch somebody else play a game, you want to see how they experience the game, and you almost unintentionally expect it to be similar to how you experienced the game for the first time when you played it, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Maybe. I like to see differences. I like to look for differences in how they played it versus how I played it.
Right.
Portal is a great example because
Oh yeah.
Portal is a game that everyone takes a lot of time on one puzzle, very easy on another puzzle, whereas you took a lot of time on the easy puzzle that they figured out. You took a very short amount of time. Like you want to figure out how they differ in their gameplay. And that's at least that's how I like to watch people play games. But you're right, when it comes to like those very simple games, like a rage-inducing game, I just want to see this particular YouTuber get banned, and that's the game to do it.
Yeah,
For-
no, you definitely make a good point too. That so sometimes you want to expect similarities, and other times you want to look for differences and see how things are different. But that's also the thing, is that you're expecting something. You're expecting a certain kind of emotion, response, similarity, difference, that kind of thing. And I mean that could be part of it in terms of gaming and content creation, I think.
Yeah. I mean, do we think that sometimes like creators can overegg their response because they know that's what people want to see?
It would not surprise me in the slightest.
So yeah, I don't see Aaron Hansen and Dan Avidan yell as much as they do in real life. As someone who's lived in LA all his life and has actually met them, they're definitely much more quiet and reserved in real life than they are on stage or in gameplay.
Yeah, we all have different masks for different situations.
The question then becomes, which one is closer to the real them?
Majora's Mask. That's its closest.
Nice. No, it's a good question, and I think that's kind of a hard one to answer, because I mean, yeah, I feel like there are so many variables, and there's really no right or wrong answer to it.
No one cared who I was till I put on the mask.
Well, yeah, absolutely, that's it. No one started watching me until I put on the mask.
You think your YouTube channel is your ally? I was born with it, molded by it. I didn't see subscribers until I was a man.
And I will say, I actually feel like I've seen a little bit more of like my true self come out when I am playing with other people, because then I'm not focusing just on myself, but I have other people to think about and bounce off of.
Oh yeah.
Like, believe it or not, I do notice plenty of similarities when I play, like, 7 Days with you guys, and then when I play Red Dead with my sister. Even though the relationships are different, and my sister and I definitely have a crap ton of inside jokes. Holy moly.
You mean we're not your sisters?
But I mean, despite the obvious differences, I noticed that my playstyle and like how I talk and interact with people is relatively similar, as long as I'm playing a game with somebody else. And that sometimes will reflect more of, who I am compared to when I'm playing a game by myself. Say, Plague, or I am not able to think of another one that I have on my channel, but you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched you play Red Dead Redemption with your sister and Subnautica, and it's very much a battle of wits between the two of you, and that makes for a great dynamic, which is really, really watchable. And when you play with us, definitely the mom comes out. And it's like herding otters, little baby otter pups.
Yeah.
But in a sense, my inner child comes out, or I'm like, I can do whatever I want. Otter will save me, or Otter will scold me.
Yeah.
And I will say, I love the dynamic that we have when we do play. I mean, it's like, has Benny planted another tree on the roof again? Benny, what if we told you are planting trees on the roof?
It's the tree of love.
And we just stand there and we just gawk at it, and it's just like,
it's like
I might be staring at it on my computer with my head in my hands, but at the same time, I absolutely love it.
Both of us are staring, looking up at the tree that's growing right out of the middle of the freaking house, just like, what? just with these dumbfounded looks on our faces.
Well, that was another thing, because Seven had never played with us before as a group.
True.
So she wasn't used to the dynamic.
Well, and she wasn't used to the dynamic, and she also didn't understand a lot of the inside jokes that we'd already made between ourselves.
Yeah, but it's also fun to incorporate her into the dynamic, slowly but surely.
Oh yeah, she would be one of those people who could easily adapt to that kind of dynamic, because it's the dynamic that I have with you guys and the one that I have with her is specifically regarding gaming, at least, is it's, again, they're different, but they're both chaotic in their own unique ways.
Very much so.
And she tends to have a lot more of like a chaotic, sassy personality when it comes to certain kinds of gaming. So it doesn't surprise me that she was able to more easily adapt. If she were playing with some of her friends, or like, maybe her boyfriend and some of his friends, I guarantee you it would be really difficult for me to adapt to that because my personality is very different from hers.
Okay. I mean, that's good, though. That's good, though. Different personalities. If you were the same, you'd be boring.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
no one
absolutely.
wants to be boring.
Yeah, and about that battle of the wits I think you mentioned earlier, Popcorn, that definitely mostly comes from her end. The only reason it comes out of my end a lot is because we know each other very well and because we do have a lot of inside stories and jokes between us. So there's a lot to grab from.
From your end.
Yes, Benny, yes.
Yes, Benny. Family audience.
I think the mom is starting to creep out again.
But no, I mean,
every day is like this.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know. Benny sometimes very much seems the Wade of our group, but I think a group needs a Wade.
I'm the Benny of your group. I'm my own man, person, otter.
No, it's called an analogy, Benny.
Analogy.
I am my own analogy.
You can't spell analogy without. Anyway, let's keep going.
Oh
I guess this is the time to talk about this week's sponsor. Water. Need to wet your whistle? Need to get something else wet? Well, try water. It's good for your body, good for the moisture. Water. I hardly know her. Anyway, next to the...
Anyways, back to the episode.
We would like a sponsor. Kraken, if you're listening.
Or water, if you're listening.
Hey, if we could have a sponsor like Kraken, that actually would be pretty cool, because, it's fucking Kraken, man.
Only if you're listening.
Mm-hmm.
Kraken.
Yeah, unlikely that they'll be listening, but you never know. We'll be kind of cool.
You never know.
You never know.
Well, you and Benny almost ended up working in the same town together.
Somehow,
That's true.
Wouldn't that have been interesting?
I mean, dragging ourselves back on topic.
You got us off topic.
Yeah, and now I am assuming responsibility and pulling us back.
Good man, Popcorn.
I feel pulled.
Because because obviously 7 Days isn't the only game we've tried together. We did some additional games during your live streams.
Mm-hmm.
We did Monopoly and Phasmophobia, which again, they're different kind of games. They're a different kind of dynamic.
Oh yeah.
And they require a different approach, and there's different levels of progression. I'd never played Phasmophobia before, and frankly, I suck at it so far.
That's fine.
Exactly.
I'm not the best at it, honestly, either. And my sister and I have kind of played on our own together a little bit. And man,
I'm just the book.
I don't think we found a single ghost.
I think we did. I think we found a single ghost, and that's it. I think we did.
I mean, we got killed by them or what?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm the Dodson book guy.
I still don't think Popcorn was here for no actually no it was the two of you and then Saren and I and I think both of us had died and you guys were just you guys were trying to figure things out and both of us were screaming at you from the grave. That was one of the few times I think where I actually got irritated because oh, it was crazy. Like I was smiling, but it was a nervous smile because and then I think I don't remember one of you two died, and then it was just one of you, and we were still trying to scream at you guys.
Yeah, if I'm in the game, I'm just like, oh fuck this.
Well, I think it was me who died.
I am not good enough. I think I just called it quits and gave up, or did I go back in and die?
I think it was me who died because I remember when I died, you and Saren were like chastising me.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Hi, I'm dead. Come on, give me a break.
Like, Benny, you did not understand at all.
Idiot. It's obviously a gin because of this and that.
We still managed to get that one wrong, I think.
Yeah.
But
I remember now, yeah. We're all like, what?
And then, yeah.
Right.
Yep, then we all got back to the lobby, and oh my gosh, Saren and I were practically having a hissy fit with you guys.
Now that's a series that's fun to watch and play. Like, because I'm playing on my own screen, and I don't get to see what you say to me and make fun of me when you guys die until I watch the video and find out.
Right. Oh man, the four of us should definitely play again at some point.
Oh, we
I can record my
definitely should.
screen now, so if you ever want to see what I say when you die,
I mean, theoretically, like all of us would have the capability of recording ourselves doing that.
mm-hmm.
Even
Yeah.
Saren does.
Well, theoretically, yes.
Yeah.
It's footage that you can have, but you don't have to have it. You don't have to use it. It's one of those
Right.
things.
It's
You're an editor of many talents, but you're not immortal.
True. I mean, it would still, like, if I were dead, then it would be easier to figure out kind of what's going on from everybody else's end. But if I'm alive, that's a little bit harder to say. But again, theoretically, with all kinds of footage like that, and with the right moments and clips, that could be funny.
I mean, if you just edited everything out just so it's you getting more and more pissed off at us for not getting it right, that on its own would probably be priceless to watch.
Wait, and that's kind of funny because you play Phasmophobia, you expect people to be freaking with each other at the very least, or for people to get constantly scared and like mess everything up. What you don't always expect is to see somebody scolding everybody increasingly over time, over and over again.
Get mad at each other.
Like, why hasn't the ghost killed you idiots yet?
that is kind of funny. We definitely do get sort of fake mad at each other a bunch.
Oh, it's fake. Yeah, Rep, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't get mad. That drawing you made of us, like all of us as otters, and me looking kind of like carefree and stupid the whole time. That's basically how I am in games.
And then
Except Monopoly, I get.
Yeah, and then I think
all the picture was missing was a tree growing out of the roof.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure to include detailed details of all four of us. So.
And it was a very, very good picture. I love that picture. You captured barbed wire perfectly.
Your skepticism in that picture, like your eyes, like they're like, "What is this idiot talking about? What is he planned?"
I mean plural. What are these idiots doing? How did I get with these idiots?
I think I managed to capture the emotions and personalities of each individual pretty well, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, you also may be pretty tall. I'm 6 foot, so that's.
I am
well represented. You're not? You're higher? You're taller?
Oh yeah, I'm 7'5".
I mean, you sound younger than you are. I mean, maybe you're taller than you sound. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, I was just trying to make the two females a little bit smaller and the two males a bit larger. So I don't know.
Is that the case in actual nature? Are males larger in otter society?
Pretty sure they are a little bit, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Seren's probably taller than me. Never mind anybody else.
No, I mean possibly not, because I don't even hit 5'6". She barely hits 5'6".
So we're about the same height then.
Oh.
3 of us are about the same height.
What about you, Benny?
I'm 181 millimeters tall.
So
millimeters.
Like
millimeters
out of the roof.
I was about to
centimeters.
I was about to say. Oh, I'm sorry.
I tried to sound smart for the British guy, and it didn't work.
It didn't. It did fall a little flat.
I'm basically Tom Thumb right there.
Oh my goodness.
Inch private eye.
Centimeters. I know my height in centimeters. 181.
So 1.81 meters.
Yes.
Yeah. Good conversion. Yeah.
Good for you.
So in other words, Benny's probably the tallest of all of us.
That's okay. It doesn't help, It doesn't get me anywhere.
No.
It hurt.
Yeah.
Hit my head on buses a lot.
Oh, I bet that's fun.
Yeah. Or airplanes too. Oh my god. Hate getting on airplanes.
Oof.
But I'm always in economy anyway.
You see, that's where my short legs are an advantage.
Yeah.
True.
But I'm tall-bodied.
Speaking of short legs, video games and making content, Otter. What else do we have to say on the topic?
Great segue.
What should I put my legs on the segue?
I think because you've like recently, Otter, you've taken, not naming names, but you've taken criticism from certain quarters for your gaming content, haven't you?
You can say it. It's me.
Yeah. Yes, it's always Benny.
not everything is Benny's fault.
I mean, based on what's always happens in 7 days, yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Oh wow, really? Do I criticize you that much?
Only in 7 days.
You weirdo. Sorry.
I'm the weirdo here. Excuse me, sir.
We
Yeah.
are all weirdos, I will have you know.
We are all weirdos here.
Truth. But yeah.
But yeah, because like I think there's two ways that you can make, you know, content that's entertaining. Either you're so bad at it, it's just hilarious, or you're just so good at it.
You can be bad at it and still be not hilarious.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
plenty of content out there that's terrible and just terrible.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking in terms of how much like we can be influenced by how people are going to take what we do, because by our own admission, the three of us, we tend to do content where we're putting ourselves first. It's our enjoyment, our personal enjoyment, that's a priority. And if other people like it, you know, so much the better.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I would even argue that there's like a third option, because, you know, you said to make gaming content that's entertaining, make it good or bad, like, you know, you're good at the game or you're bad at the game. I also think that you could add the third option of being unique. Now that could be kind of like a generalized term, but I think that still stands.
Aren't we all unique in a way? I mean, you mean, but in the sense of content creation, something that truly you can't get anywhere else but that channel or that outlet.
Exactly.
So you're talking about really like niche stuff.
Little bit,
not
yeah.
necessarily. I mean, okay, never mind. A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, not entirely, but that is kind of one way you could think of it.
I wouldn't think niche at all. I mean, it'd be niche if if the content itself was something that like if the channel like you're obsessed with is someone smashing eggs, and that's really what you came for. You know, that's the only channel that does it. But I'm talking about like maybe this person, just their personality, their way of thinking, their way of playing this game is different. I mean, yes, everyone else has played this game, but like this person's uniqueness, I can't see that anywhere else. I can't see, Honor Pop, the creator, anywhere else, like because of her unique way of thinking and her approach to games. Not niche.
That's very interesting, because you take my mind back to Getting Over It, and I'm not a big watcher of someone like PewDiePie, but I did watch PewDiePie's take on Getting Over It, and he went like toward in the middle of that, he went shirtless and he brought a sledgehammer into his room, and he climbed into his chair using the sledgehammer, if I remember. So he really like threw himself into it because he knew he was going to end up rage quitting.
That's almost as amusing as Markiplier throwing his chair across the entirety of his room.
Was he also shirtless?
No, he
wasn't.
He was not. He literally threw his chair to the other side of the room out of sheer rage and frustration by the game.
That's fine. You can still buy his nude calendar if you really want to see it.
Yeah.
You can indeed.
I'm already forgetting what the original question was.
We were talking about how other people might react to content that, you produce, or creators in general produce, whether it's like good feedback or bad feedback. Or
yeah.
Does it influence how we respond in producing our content?
I mean, I'd say in some cases, especially channels that are more focused on gaming, that could be true. That's not always true for me. Especially because, people aren't usually responding to me, because I will often put up polls and questions, especially on my community posts on my YouTube channel, relating to various gaming stuff, and I will usually take that feedback and then take my own personal preferences and kind of find a way to make them mesh together in some way. So, I mean, I do, to an extent, let the audience kind of push me into certain directions when it comes to gaming, but generally speaking, I don't, because I'm just very stubborn, and I have my way of playing games, and I'm not going to let anybody tell me otherwise.
Can I just say I love your polls, and anytime your polls don't specifically say not to comment, I don't, because I know you want comments, and knowing you have to go and post it up again and say, hey, at this time, please comment.
Yeah.
I'm just addicted to voting.
That's what you keep saying.
Just an agent of chaos. I'll check all the options.
I actually had to block some channels because they only put up polls and they keep on showing up in my feed. I'm like, okay, I have to look deeply within myself and say, is this what I want to be doing? Is just constantly voting on like this is like it's like Facebook quizzes all over again,
Yeah.
back in 2010.
Like onto BuzzFeed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
think women should BuzzFeed in public, but that's just my
Oy vey.
controversial opinion.
And that's my hot take.
And hot it was.
Yup.
Yup. Yarp.
Now we're just making
Narp.
noises. Okay.
No. Oh my god.
Yip, 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 yip. Uh-huh.
Yeah. No, I imagine that part of the reason you asked that is because you remembered me complaining, just kind of venting a little bit about how someone was like, "Oh well, you're kind of bad at gaming, so I don't
You
think
should bring back South Park."
I have written that down actually. That was in my notes.
Yeah.
But it's just like, but yeah, it's literally, yeah. You suck at gaming. Just go back to doing South Park reactions,
And nothing else. Ugh.
Ugh.
which is just
no.
like wrong.
You have the power to unsubscribe and watch someone else watch South Park. I mean, I see
Yeah.
so many people reacting to South Park now.
And I've
Yep.
got to be honest, I have only ever watched one South Park episode all the way through, and that's because I was in somebody else's house, so I had
Yeah.
no choice.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Well, I do like your South Park reactions, but that's not why I'm here.
Well, and I know the part of it for me too is like I would like to play the two games eventually because based on what
Well-
I've seen, they seem crazy interesting.
Well, yes, but there's a specific point in South Park where you should play The Stick of Truth, and there's a certain point in South Park where you should play Fractured Butthole.
Exactly, which is what I'm trying to do.
So,
Exactly.
I have to wait until I finish season 17 before I can play the first
Oh,
game.
you know.
And then
You already know.
and then like the middle of season 20, I want to say, is when I can do the second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've already looked this ish up.
I believe you. I just didn't want to say anything out loud. I didn't want anything to be considered like a spoiler or even like the chance,
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of. I want to make sure that I'm at least somewhat familiar with like all the references and the characters and like some of the concepts and stuff. That just makes more sense to me. And there could be people that argue you don't have to watch through all of it, or you only need to watch these specific episodes or something like that. And it's like, no, I'm gonna do
Well, to be fair,
my own thing.
At the rate you're going, you're almost to season 17, and it's because you're going decently fast now that no one's like. Then you don't have to put like commentary on YouTube or anything.
Yeah.
That suits your very linear, logical approach that you would want to be complete in what you watch before you play the game.
I'm nothing
Popcorn,
if
are you
not.
trying to bring us back on topic? What?
I'm nothing if not
Oh.
logical.
Oh, Benny.
Sing the logical song by Supertramp.
So yeah, I
I
know
don't know him.
I know that there are plenty of people that want me to play the games. It's just like, all right, I'm going to play the games, but I'm going to do it on my own terms. And y'all can't say nothing about it.
It's true. Well, we can until you block us, which I assume will happen maybe next week.
I don't know. When it comes to YouTube specifically, I don't think I'd ever block you. I don't think there's any way I'd be able to.
Oh, Popcorn, that's a challenge. I'm just.
Oh.
Leave me out of it.
Popcorn's like,
I'm joking.
fuck this shit, I'm out.
Ooh, first swear word of the podcast.
Technically, no. I have already dropped the F-bomb about like 10-ish minutes ago.
Oh, you dropped 2 F-bombs?
It's only 2. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get demonetized for that.
No.
No.
Well, especially now that the demonetization rules have dialed down a little bit.
Ooh, wait. Oh, this one's going to be on YouTube, right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so I'll be careful. You can't say you can't say all the 7 dirty words you can't say on TV.
Don't
And
worry.
it's available wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yep. I still need to figure out how to do the whole podcast websites and stuff like that. I still need it's going to take me a little bit to get used to because I've never really done a podcast before, but I have confidence in myself, so yay.
We have confidence in you as well.
Oh, well, thank you.
I have confidence in springtime.
And I have confidence in my mediocre gaming abilities.
As do
All right.
I.
To mediocrity.
Cheers.
Although you have to admit, when it comes to 7 Days to Die, I'm kind of a wicked shot with my bow and arrow and crossbows.
Definitely. I mean,
Annoyingly, I've gotten better with like fisticuff weapons, whatever they're called, like leather wraps and other things like that.
Yeah.
I've just gotten better at hitting and running.
Hit and run. Hey, that's another game I used to play in my childhood. Holy moly. Simpsons Hit and Run.
Simpsons Hit and Run.
Yes.
I have that on GameCube.
Oh my gosh, that was
If only,
that was one of my favorites back in the day.
if only you were my neighbor, I'd lend it to you because I have it.
Oh man.
she has a PO box now.
I'm not going to send it. I love that game.
Back?
No. No. I love it too much to have it lost.
You can't back out now.
Again, I do plan on probably working with some kind of emulator at some point. If I were able to play some of like my old PS2 games via an emulator, oh my god, I think I would freak out.
Okay. And oddly enough, Dolphin, the GameCube emulator, is actually really, really good compared to, like, say, Project 64, the N64 emulator.
Yeah.
For some reason, the lower console is not as good at emulating things as the disc console.
Huh. Well, I think I'm gonna need a PS2 emulator, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, because you were talking about Simpsons Hit and Run, I played it on the GameCube. I think you probably played it on the PS2, huh?
Yep, I did.
Yeah, that conversation just went completely over my head. I'm PC. What can I say?
Well, I grew up PC and PS2. I just have a lot of fond memories from all kinds of PS2 games. But I do also have memories from a lot of PC games, which is why I'm going to be playing a whole bunch of them in May.
Ooh.
Oh, you should do like an hour each on patrons' favorites, like their favorite childhood games. Like you pick one per thing, and they have to pay a certain amount. It's like you're gonna play an hour of whatever Pong or whatever Popcorn's favorite game from his childhood is, and then an hour of Yoshi's Island, and then an hour of whatever.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a favorite game from my childhood.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Pinball.
I kind of have favorites depending on the console and the time period, but do I have a strict favorite that stands above the rest of them? Not really. It's kind of hard to pick favorites when it comes to games.
It's true. My favorite platformer is, I think I mentioned it, Yoshi's Island. My favorite strategy game is probably Civilization. It all depends on what I'm feeling at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I did play Civilization and a lot of those similar type games, and I really, really liked them. But because in the 90s I wasn't really a kid anymore.
Oh no.
I know, it's a tragedy of it. But no, I mean, my favorite PC games of that era were probably Duke Nukem 3D and TIE Fighter, which are radically different types of games.
Very different.
But I just loved the immersive nature of them both, and the atmospheric nature of them. If I go back to being like younger as a kid, then you're talking about games on something like a Commodore 64. IK Plus is a really good one. The Commodore 64 had some of the best music for games from that era, and it was all like the MIDI stuff. But it had a great sound chip for its time, and I'd like to get some of that stuff as ringtones because it was really good stuff, and they really got the best out of those computers of their age.
I don't think. I mean, I feel like even emulators can't truly get the sound of the time. How it really sounded to come out of that machine.
Probably not.
Oh, absolutely. But it makes you remember enough that your nostalgia fills in the gaps.
Maybe it depends. It depends on if it's your game. If it's you know what? I would actually agree with that. Even if it's not your, like, 'cause I remember arcades from the 80s in the 90s. Like that were still in arcade machines, and I still those sounds of those game time that time period still resonates with me, like on an emotional level.
And there are actually plenty of arcade museums that you can go to and play these old games.
True. Isn't there like maybe one or two in California where you just moved away from, Benny?
Oh wow! Remind me. Try to make me regret my decision. Right.
There's one in San Francisco.
That sounds.
Well, if you're going to San Francisco, be sure you wear lots of flowers in your hair.
I've been to San Francisco.
It's not quite the same. It's not quite the same,
It's
but
not
I think
the same. It's not. It kind of it just reminds me of LA, but with a little more of a ocean smell.
No, I was actually going to say something completely different, Penny. It's not quite the same, but I know that there are a couple of like arcade bars in Denver.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't.
Oh.
Yeah, I was going in a slightly different direction. I was not bouncing off of you that time. My bad.
No. You said it's
Benny
not quite the
always goes in
same.
a different direction.
Yeah, west. Nobody ever goes west except for Five.
So if we ever do a quest together in 7 days, we've got to make sure he goes the right way.
Yep. Are we gonna have to lead him? Like we're gonna have to probably take the lead, take the charge, make sure
Lead me
that
to the end of
I think
the.
it's more a case of having a gun on him.
No, that wouldn't deter me.
Well,
Unless
typically now
I
Otter just like disables immunity, so we can actually shoot each other even though we're allies. I think she just finds that more entertaining.
I mean, when it happens as an accident, yeah, especially when Benny accidentally shoots popcorn and neither of you realize it.
I was truly dumbfounded when Otter pointed that out.
When Benny decides to pick a fight with a bear when I've just said to
All
both
right.
of you, don't go near the bear.
But to my credit,
And I was trying to get some high ground, and I had not indicated that I was ready to attack the bear. So that's not on me either, even if I was still going after the bear.
to my credit, I didn't listen.
To you,
Yeah,
So therefore, it's not my fault.
yeah.
So we wrap up this podcast with the notion that I am the bravest of us all.
sure. Let's go with that.
Basically, Don Quixote, but with more of a reputation.
It's just a podcast,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you would not be able to see me shaking my head right now.
No, but I can see it
I
in my
can
mind.
hear it. I can hear it.
I can hear your disappointment, like my dad.
Oh, jeez.
Yes, Benny, we're not mad. We're just disappointed.
No.
And that's what we have
And
to
on
end it on.
that note, that's where we're going to hang our hammers, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's the end.
See you next time.
Goodbye.
See you on another episode of RaftCast.